I hope
Hello, Mr. Anderson.
my name is Neo.
Welcome to Best Boys, a film podcast. An amateur film study podcast for the average Joe, the buffest buffs, and the cringiest bingers. I am your host, JP, and I am joined by my brother, professional Hollywood videographer from Zion.
Kory with a story.
We should have
one.
wore sunglasses today.
Oh yeah, we should have.
I don't
I was
have
trying to
any
think of
good ones.
I was trying to think of like a quick Morpheus line to say, and I just like blanked.
I can't. We
The
can
world
only
is not as
show
big as
you.
you.
We can only show you what the best boys are.
Yeah, it cannot be told.
It cannot be
It
told.
must be shown.
Must be shown. So, we got some wiki wild west takes. I think today. I think just for the brief moments we've talked, I think we have some some hot takes for both of these films today. We are finishing our Matrix franchise retrospective with the Matrix Revolutions and the new, brand spanking new Matrix Resurrections, which apparently is bombing right now, big time. As soon as I saw they were putting it on HBO Max, I was like, "What? I mean, it's gonna bomb." There's so many movies out right now. It's Christmas. I'm gonna watch it at home. I watched it at home. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
I did too. I had no desire to go to the movies to watch this.
I didn't want to go to the movies, period. Right? But yeah, I would have been fine with seeing this in theaters. But I think just the vibe, and we were pretty busy, and it's jam packed holidays, so it was fun. We had to squeeze it in. Honestly, like we watched it Sunday or Saturday, after Christmas. But yeah. Let's just get to it. I know we got places to be today, so I want to keep things moving. The Matrix Revolutions, the third. Most people say the third. I personally, in my headcanon, this is the fourth Matrix film. I refuse to not acknowledge the Animatrix as a main film in the franchise. I feel like the Wachowskis intended it. I think they intended it that way, at least originally. Just because their names aren't, directing the entire thing, writing and directing or whatever. But yeah, Matrix Revolutions. I'm not gonna lie, pleasantly surprised.
Okay, good.
I remembered that I honestly, both of these sequels were better than I remembered. Just let me, I know we shat on Reloaded, but I didn't give it a really bad score or anything. It has issues. It falls in places that the first movie is just so perfect that it can fail in these ways, and we were pointing it out. I think this movie works a lot more than I thought it did. I didn't understand it. I think I remember the first time I watched it, and this time it was pretty fucking easy to understand what was going on.
Yeah.
Like maybe just because I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then you get what everybody says about a movie, and you didn't, you had problems with it when you first saw it. And I was like very confused. I remember not liking the Smith fight at the end, which I still think is one of the weakest parts of the movie. This is by no means perfect or anything, but I think it's definitely better than Reloaded.
I agree with that. That was my initial thoughts growing up, and I stand by that opinion. I don't. People now think Reloaded's better, and I don't get it.
So yeah, I've been noticing it's particularly in my like DIY, indie circles, from music and arts and stuff. That I'm seeing a lot of people say that Reloaded, that both sequels are underrated. And they're actually good, but Reloaded in particular is like really good. There was actually a YouTube video I meant to watch before I got on here that I did not because I had a crazy day today. And it was by a YouTuber named Curio, and I'm going to shout it out anyways. And she made a video about like why the Matrix sequels are good. I think it's a thing that a lot of people cite. with why. I know a friend I'm on Facebook with. They're like obsessed with the Wachowskis and like can do no wrong. And honestly, I am a huge fan of the Wachowskis as well. But I feel like I have a more like grounded take on them. I would say, or like less biased. Because I don't think that everything they do is perfect, but I think I love all the things they try to do. And I think when we talk about Resurrections, you're going to see that a lot with me. As there's a lot of really cool ideas in Resurrections. Whether you like it or not, I think that a lot of people can agree on that, the concepts. But before we get too far, what did you think about the Matrix Revolutions?
This one is everything out of the sequel that I think that Reloaded wasn't. While saying that is not, I don't hold it anywhere near as regards the original or even the Animatrix. I think I like better than both of the sequels. But Revolutions just is paced so much better than Reloaded, and for me that it makes it so much more enjoyable.
It's
too.
easy watch. Yeah, it makes. I remember people acting like that. There's a 40-minute mech fight, and I feel like there was a 40-minute mech fight that there was 3 storylines going on during, and
and it's like spread out. It's not like nonstop, like just one battle scene. And I watched something earlier this week talking about this that was a good thing to point out. Was this was in the era of like epic battles were like huge for blockbuster movies because of like Lord of the Rings, and then
like Revenge of the Sith.
The Star Wars prequels, and this was just they had to do big, they had to do whatever. But I think it works well. I love that the look of the Sentinel fights with the little mechs, and I know realistically the Sentinels could probably wipe the floor with the mechs, but it feels like that there's no chance, but you feel like they're like doing better than you thought, and it's believable.
It's very Warhammer to me. I don't necessarily think that it was influenced by Warhammer 40K, but just I've been getting into it the last couple of years, and there's a lot of like that. Where like there's a sci-fi faction that has advanced tech, but it's not the highest tech of the time. So it's this weird, like this one faction will have mechs, and this other faction will have like crazy, like alien technology and energy weapons and whatever. And I think that's it's an interesting part of it, and that's why I like this so much. It's anime, but also like the mech design is Western a bit as well, like BattleTech, Mech Warrior kind of stuff. Warhammer. I have a Warhammer model called the Invictor Tactical Warsuit. And it looks pretty much identical to these suits, except it has a cage over top. I don't think theirs has a cage.
They're like they have like a bar, but there's no glass or door.
That's how this is. It's like it looks like on
the thing from Alien,
or like the modified cars. Like at the Lernerville, like at the like not
just a roll cage.
Roll cage. That's what it looks like. Like on or like on an Alien, the Aliens.
The yellow thing that Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, it's kind of like that too. So and I think that model was inspired kind of by those kind of that style of mech. I'm sure it was around before, but I hadn't seen it in a movie, and I like it a lot. But beyond the fight, I really like I think the stories with these minor characters that were briefly set up and Reloaded, and I honestly forgot about the guy from Oz and Lost, Harold Perrineau. I think that's the name of the actor. I think his name is Link in the Matrix. His like wife, who starts making shells, and her and her partner with the rocket launchers are trying to take down these drillers. And I was like, man, this is a really interesting, like, it's really cool how they set this up last movie, and you kind of didn't think it was going to go anywhere, and it's this important part. And she might not be the most memorable character when it's all said and done, but I was really interested in that story. Even Kid, I thought he was much less annoying, and especially if you watch the Animatrix, his thing in that, it felt like a good culmination. I've been very steeped in Matrix lore the last couple days, like as far as the video games, which apparently have a lot of lore that is still canon even through the new movie, which I was surprised. I thought they were going to retcon some things, but apparently not. Um, but yeah, I was just surprised at how well this worked. I was interested in all these subplots. I think the Neo part is the weakest part of the movie, and that's why I think it's relegated to the background for a while until the end when it actually matters. I remember people having issue with the Jesus thing being really on the nose, but I just don't know what else you're gonna do. You've been set the chosen one,
Yeah, the whole thing is a Messiah trip. Like,
but and what makes it now with the new movie, you could argue that is changed, that it isn't just about the one. It's about the relationship of Neo and Trinity. But this movie is definitely like it comes together. I had issues with a few things with regards to this plot line. One, it takes them forever to recognize that Bane is Smith when it's so obvious.
Painfully obvious.
So obvious. And he's like, you really you still don't get it, do you? And same with Trinity. Like he's gone crazy. He's psychotic. And like especially with like the copying in, like everyone in the Matrix is Smith. Wouldn't it be possible that somehow he could figure out how to jump inside someone's body or something? I don't know.
Yeah, especially after Neo passed out, like killing Sentinels with his mind. Like I feel like if you witness that, anything is possible now. Like I'm surprised that we didn't see more of that in Resurrections, which I'll bring that up later. But
yes, and I feel like we kind of jumped to the end a bit, but there was that was one of my biggest things. Well, the way Trinity died was a little abrupt. It was like, tell me we're gonna be okay. He's like, we're gonna be okay, and then she dies.
Yeah, although her monologue, her dying monologue, takes forever. It just seems like it Return of the King's meet, where I think it's gonna like stop. There's a pause. They kiss.
I thought it was emotional,
and then
though.
it starts right back up again, and it's like, you missed your moment.
They're really trying to. I think they're really trying to give her, some time because it's such an important character and their relationship's so important. And
for sure.
Like I don't know. It didn't bother me, but I can see what you mean. But I wanted to go back to the beginning. If there's something else you want to say.
Well, I was gonna ask if we go back to the mech battle. I had some comments to say.
All right. Well, we already talked about that. So yeah, like, what do you want to add to that?
I just wanted to say, favorite line of the movie is "Knuckle up."
Yeah, he says it like 3 times.
That commander guy is the badass motherfucker.
Yeah,
he's so
cool.
Awesome. And I love that so much of this mech fight you can just see like anime mech inspirations, especially when like the last like hold the line thing when the kid's riding on his back, and you just he gets the ammo unjammed and knuckles up and just fucking it's so cool. I just think it's so well done.
I really like
you feel it.
This time through I really like that character, and the way he dies is pretty crazy. Pretty like the most probably the goriest part of the movie. And if you watch the Animatrix, you know what's happening to these people off screen. Like if they're not showing it, they showed it in the Animatrix. The people are getting ripped, the mech's ripped open and they're getting torn apart and what have you.
But yeah, it was just like that, and with like all the subplots with Link's wife and stuff, and it just like it almost felt like you had to get through Reloaded's exposition overload so that this can just be at a great pace of just shit happening.
Yeah, there's still exposition, and it's a lot of it's in the beginning, with the train man, and that's what I want to talk about. Is how did you feel about the train station thing with the family, the program family? That there's like a speech about programs that they feel love, and they have like these emotions because love is is a word that represents a deep connection, and can't we all have that? And it's very much blurring the lines of humans and organic beings and machines, and that they're not so different, and they can coexist. And obviously, in the new movie, that's a huge part of it, is that machines and humans coexist. But we're just getting I can totally see those things being set up. But how did you feel at the train station?
I thought I'm all right with the like the concept of it. I just think it was explained a little poorly about just how like he ended up being like between worlds there. I like the stuff with the family. I feel like that's
I like them, yeah.
the best part of the train thing, but then it's just kind of like there's so much more important things happening and Neo is just kind of nerfed. And but I don't feel like that worried about it. I feel like he's gonna figure it out or something's gonna be okay. I didn't feel like there was enough tension to really because like you're going between that and you're cutting between that and Morpheus, the Seraph, and Trinity and a gun back to back fucking thing like wheeling through a crowd at
Yeah, the
like a
BDSM
BDSM
crowd.
club, which is
Yeah.
just like weird and kind of funny to think about in hindsight, but so like that kind of didn't work for me, but like I like the overall concept that they were
I
going
like
for with it.
the ceiling fighting. I thought that the shootout in the beginning was so much better than I kept thinking of the Merovingian goons fight where it just looked like they were on a set with those
Oh yeah,
stairs.
that was so bad.
Like
Yeah.
this is much better than that. The fight scenes overall are much better in my opinion than Reloaded.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and I like that ceiling fight thing too, because that's all practical. That's actual people wired to the ceiling, at like as they shot it. There's no camera trick or anything.
Boy, did
Um,
I dislike the Seraph stuff in this movie. Seraph as a character is very underdeveloped. And
mm,
then they just try to give like random lines of lore about him, like, oh, he doesn't have his wings anymore. Like those bouncers out in
yeah,
front of the club. And it's like, it's very Star Wars where it's trying to allude to the bigger universe and there's more lore than we can even touch on this movie, but it
yeah,
feels like it feels very like on the nose. It felt very like I don't know, weird and abrupt and out of nowhere, and then it just never comes. It's never it doesn't come back ever. Um,
yeah.
Even
If
the
he got
scene with
more,
the Smiths and Seraph was kind of awkward.
yeah, that one had zero tension to it too. It's like, all right, we're gonna hide in these rooms and then just listen to them walk up and into the room,
And then
and it's like no
die.
surprise, no nothing. It's not even just one Smith. It's just like a room full of Smiths. And it's just yeah, I don't know. There's no weight. There definite missteps in that could have been higher gravity situations. Um, how did you feel about the maniacal laugh after Smith absorbs Oracle?
I thought it was
I
fine. It was it was even a little bit weird. And obviously the Oracle is a new actress in this one.
Yeah,
Which the Gloria Foster, the original, passed away, and I'm glad they addressed it in the movie. But I definitely don't like the new Oracle as much as the old Oracle. And
yeah,
not that she's bad or anything, it's just different. And
mhm,
so that scene was weird. This that she was waiting for him, and she let herself. He recognized that she's letting herself be absorbed by waiting for him because she knows he's coming, and
mhm.
he wanted to get the eyes of the Oracle so that he could see the future and blah blah blah. I don't know. The Smith storyline is better in this. Like it's much better in this movie, but it's. I never liked it. I don't like the Infinite Smiths thing.
Yeah.
Um,
It
and
makes him feel cartoony at some point, like
he does become
across the
cartoony,
movie.
especially when there's so many of them. Like
Mhm.
with the different like faces they make in the background and whatnot. I don't know. I think I've always had a problem with the Smiths, the Smiths arc in this. I don't know what I would do better though. I don't know how I would do it better. I still love Mr. Agent Smith as a character, especially in the first film.
Mhm.
But yeah, he does become a little bit of just a mustache twirler, a little, I guess. Is like and he's supposed to
Yeah.
be the anti Neo. Like Neo is all powerful and good, and
Yeah.
Agent Smith is all powerful and bad, and they're the equal and opposites of each other. And then like the end fight is kind of weird. I remember I didn't understand it the first time. But I'm getting ahead of myself again because I want to go back to the Train Man because I honestly forgot that the Train Man was in the movie at all.
Yeah,
That
same.
I was like, wait, what? Wait,
This is homeless
who
man
is
that
this
just
fucking guy? Apparently he's a veteran actor that is in the Star Wars prequels and is in the original the second Mad Max, the second two, I think. Sequels. And I think he's Australian or something. Yeah, I didn't have I didn't have an issue, but it was this like, weird beginning part of like how we get Neo back, and because he's trapped in the train station, and only this train man and the Merovingian controls it. And boy, the Merovingian, I now like. I hated
really.
him when well, because we have added canon that I did not have before. Because after the original trilogy, it's like this guy sucks. Like I understand that he's supposed to be like this chaotic neutral force that
Mhm.
is on neither side and kind of fucks with both. And I think it's cool that it exists. Like a rogue program.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Um, but I don't know why. I think because of all of his big ass causality monologue and dump of information in the second movie that I was just like wish he didn't exist. But now I feel like his character is redeemed with the new movie, and I am all about the Merovingian. I'm Team Merovingian. I don't want to be honest team,
Really,
but I'm not
really,
honest team. But
no,
I
because of the
now
new movie.
yes, and we are gonna talk about it.
Oh man.
But I think that he is a cool character now, and I'm glad that he's around. And yeah, I think the club is funny, and it's just like it's very Batman and Robin kind of like with the
Yeah.
intro.
Oh,
And like they're all
the
they're
circle of guns is so funny to me though.
they're all wrangled up, and yeah, they try to make a deal, and then of course Trinity just like fuck this, I do what I want, and he gets back Neo. Man, we'll get to it, but I don't know, I liked it. I thought it was kind of pulpy, kind of a little. It's very camp. It's probably the campiest part of the movie.
Yeah, yeah. Like it felt almost like in that scene, almost a parody of itself, slightly. And just kind of like, the leather's ramped up, the BDSM is ramped up, and this time it's all daytime and bright and
It's
it
fun. It's really fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It doesn't feel you don't feel tension, you just feel like this
Yeah,
is
what's gonna
ridiculous, not
happen
ridiculous,
next?
but like yeah, yeah.
We're on an
And then I don't
adventure.
know.
It's in very
Yeah,
adventure. It's fun adventure. Let's save Neo, and we're gonna, we can
yeah.
do it. Um, Morpheus definitely takes a big seat back in this movie. Now I'm
Mhm.
just realizing it. That fight in the beginning he's a part of, but the rest of the movie he's kind of takes a seat for Jada Pinkett. Speaking of
Yeah.
which, Jada Pinkett, I'm glad gets a movie because I couldn't remember. I knew she got the video game, and had a small role in the second movie, but she's really good in this one. Really don't like her in the new one, but I really like her in this one.
Yeah.
And her storyline's really cool. There's a lot of really great female characters in the Matrix, and like they don't necessarily pass the Bechdel tests or whatever that arbitrary bullshit is. But there's a lot of really and we talked about this with the last one, where it's like this multicultural society, and men and women are all participate in everything. It's very equal because we're all just trying to survive together. And I really like Niobe's character. I think she's badass. Trinity, upon watching this whole thing, I now realize just how fucking badass Trinity is. Even apart from the new movie, like I think I slept on her just because so focused on Neo and Morpheus. But Trinity, they're all three are crucial. All three are vital to what makes this so cool. And yeah, just great. This is great female characters in this movie. Between, like we said, Link's wife, which you probably should find her name. Um, but and Trinity and Niobe and plenty of other smaller background characters. It's I don't know. It's really cool to see, and I think you can be badass and still be a woman at the end of the day. I think I heard that and it's a quote of Carrie and Moss from like that from one of the behind the scenes, and I thought it was really really good, an accurate description of how our character is. But yeah, what do you feel about what else do you want to talk about with the revolution?
Um, do you want to go over how do you feel about just like the Smith takeover, um, the absorption, the stab of Neo at the end, and he's having the whole lines about like I've seen this, but it's this is where I say this, and he's like, why did I say that? I've always wondered, like, is it like Neo in his head making him say that, or is it like
Oh,
he's just
he's has the
absorbed so
eyes of
many
the
people?
Oracle. He has the eyes of the Oracle, and he sees the future, but he doesn't. I don't think know what to make of it. Like he doesn't know how to interpret it. And
Yeah,
that's like a thing. That's definitely a thing in sci-fi with future sight. Is sometimes if you try to will it to happen, sometimes you are doing the opposite, or you're only seeing a perspective of the future, and the bigger
yeah,
picture is you get fucked, or whatever. I didn't. I think I was confusing also when I watched as a kid, that I got that more this time.
yeah,
And the whole deal with the machines, I understood fully this time, and I did not as a kid. Like, well, they
yeah.
want, like, he has to kill Smith because they can't deal with Smith themselves. Like, it has to be Neo. He's the only one.
Mm.
Um, and in order to do that, they have to keep peace with Zion. Um, yeah, I don't know. I liked it a lot. I was really surprised. I liked it a lot. I liked it more than the second one, and I liked it overall. It's nowhere near the original. Still, I think the original, it would have been better off still, being by itself. I honestly probably do believe that, but I am also very happy that there is a larger Matrix universe and lore to dig into. Because it very
Yeah.
much is. I do very much believe it is the Star Wars of the 21st century. Um,
Yeah, the
it's
lore is big enough for it. Like it can be big enough. The world is big enough. It
well,
may not be intergalactic, but it's
well,
deep
just the
enough.
trip. I'm just talking about as it exists now. It is the Star Wars of the 21st century.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Um,
Um, yeah, I'm definitely happy that these exist. With if it would have been just the first movie, I don't think I would be into this franchise as much.
well, it
And
wouldn't
after
be a
what?
franchise. It'd just be
Yeah,
one
yeah.
movie.
Well, yeah, but the other two make the first one so much better. But it also just it makes it very enjoyable as a series. Like I don't think that any of these three are bad enough to make this not a great series, like set a trilogy to recommend to people who are into the sci-fi genre and shit. And I
The
still think they still hold up
The Matrix would
significantly.
exist. It doesn't. I don't think they needed to make sequels because The Matrix would exist as an all-time sci-fi great, just like the original Blade Runner. They didn't need to make
Mm,
a sequel to the original Blade Runner, and but they did, however long later. But at
yeah,
its time, I think that's what this does for sci-fi. This did for sci-fi, more what Blade Runner does, but I think it also as a franchise, which you could argue it failed as a franchise. But I think it succeeded in a lot of ways. The Star Wars prequels, and definitely the Star Wars sequels did not. But also they're it's the first three movies, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I was really surprised, pleasantly surprised how much I liked it. Definitely still has its issues. There is still some goofy stuff. But if you're really into this world, this is a good. It wraps it up, I think, well. Um,
mm.
and you could argue, did a sequel need to be made today? And I think that
Yeah,
Lana Wachowski herself has asked, does a sequel really need to be made? This seems like
yeah.
this this movie is the most self-aware meta movie I've seen in a long time. It may not be like the deepest, it's not draped in metaphor. It is very surface level. I'm
Mm.
obviously starting to talk about the Matrix Resurrections. Um, But
I
it
gave the
is.
last movie a 3.5. By the
Oh
way.
yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I was ready. I'm just so ready to talk about it. I was gonna.
Yeah, I am
I
too.
think I was prepared to score them both at the end. But all right. You gave it a 3.5. I also gave it a 3.5.
Yeah, it's a little bit better than Reloaded, but not nearly as good as the original.
Nowhere
But
near.
still solid, like blockbuster for
Very.
the
It's
time.
still a good movie. And if you like this world, then you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
But all right. If you like
Time
this
to
world,
resurrect.
if you like this world, would you love? Do you love the resurrections? Is the question. But this is, like I'm just saying, incredibly self-aware, an incredibly meta movie, and it's very appropriate for our modern age of sequels and reboots and rehashes and franchises and spin-offs and what have you, and milking everything dry from all its of all its entertainment. 1,000 years of Star Wars, 1,000 years of Marvel. That's what
the Matrix.
This movie is commenting on that. And essentially, I will just break it down. The first half of the film, Neo, or at least who we think is Neo, is a video game programmer, a video game developer. And he has developed a series of games called The Matrix, and he wants to develop something different. And it is called Binary, coincidentally. And his company is telling him that he has to make a sequel to The Matrix. That he's being forced to, and if he doesn't do it, someone else will, against his will, against his wishes, and will take, his creation and do something with it without his consent or oversight. So then we see them try to develop this game. The video game thing, I didn't know how I felt about it first, but I think it's just like a slight, would it really have been that much different to just say he's made movies?
Yeah, I kind of did not like the game aspect for most of it, and then I just kind of got used to hearing it enough that it was like, all right. But my peak of hating it was that little round table with all the think tank thing in the middle of the film.
That's when me and Riss were like, okay, this is literally, we're watching a representation of the writer's room and board meetings to develop this very movie that we are watching. Like it's like the behind a dramatization of the behind the scenes of the movie we were watching as we're watching it.
Yeah,
it's pretty fucking. It's pretty wild.
It is, but I just feel like it's all too on the nose with it. It's like it's not nuanced as well as I feel like it could have been.
I think that's what makes it so interesting. Is it's like how does this exist? How does this exist? It's so fucking fascinating.
And said that I made this to bomb as a point to not do these kind of movies anymore. I 100% full respect, love it. And I think that.
But why does she have to spoon feed that to you without you being able to get that from watching it?
But that's the thing. It's like I feel like there's parts of this movie where it could go either way. Of it's not just obviously there's the poke in the bear of of it being a rehash, and we have to just keep rehashing things. But it's
it's entire commentary on being forced to rehash movies. That's what this movie is.
I'm just saying I just don't think this is a good movie in doing that.
I think there's a lot good about it. But I think that there are some. I think my issues with it are more in execution than in. I think the idea is pretty genius, honestly, and I think I think the video game thing is good. And once you realize that you're not getting the Matrix and you're getting whatever the fuck this is, I think that it is I don't know. It's different. It's just, it feels so. It's shot different. It looks different. The cameras are different. The coloring is different.
Mm.
It doesn't feel like the Matrix at for large portions of it. And then the moments when it does, it's purposely trying to be a facsimile. It's purposely trying to be, this is a copy of what you remember. And this isn't what I have an issue with, but while constantly berating you with the footage of the original movie and like beating you over the head with it, like my issue with this, because I just watched these movies before this and I don't want to see these scenes again when I just saw them. I'm ready for this. I don't need to have that prepared for me, but I think that it was on purpose to beat you the fuck over the head with, like, you want the original Matrix. Well, here it is again, interspliced between this new movie that is fucking not the Matrix. Very much not the Matrix. At least in the, this beginning this first hour of it, I would say.
Yeah, it's like I texted you after I first watched it. It was like I like the the grand idea of it. I just think that the movie itself, like the way they went about doing it, which I guess you would say the execution, I just don't think is good. I think there's a lot of, especially in the second half, just bad dialogue. Bad
most of my issues with it are in the second half. Once I accepted what this movie was doing, because boy, it was jarring with the video game. That fucking guy that works for the video game company, that's like really energetic, and
his assistant.
Yeah,
or
his
the
assistant.
Smith guy?
No, the assistant. He's
Yeah,
so fucking
hate it.
annoying. So, but then I realized that this is all on purpose. This world, once they explain it to you, Neil Patrick Harris later, it's like, oh, this whole world is a caricature. It is they're using dated slang like OMG and stuff like that. It's like very hype beast culture. It's grinding. It's capitalist as fuck and very shallow and like glitzy, and it doesn't have any depth to it at all. It's a because like this is a Matrix. It doesn't need to feel like the old one to be a Matrix. And I really, once I accepted that, I was like, wow, this is cool. And I just have to go with this and see where it takes me. The first half of the movie, I liked, but I kept saying that felt very raw in terms of production to me. A lot of this movie feels raw, and I think that's part of what makes it so interesting and fascinating that it exists, but it is obviously flawed because of how raw it is.
No, when you say raw, what do you mean by that?
Not fully baked, like in terms of production. So like, not polished, raw, unpolished.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, because I was gonna say I think this is like beautifully, especially the first half is beautifully like shot and like edited, and I like the whole like.
I didn't like the editing at all. I thought the editing was chaotic and frantic, and it felt weird at first. The pace of how things were moving was really strange. All the action is edited poopy, but it's because they're trying.
That stuff's bad.
The action's edited like poop, but it's because they're trying to, edit around old man Keanu and stuff like that. Like, it's because they can't do the choreography. I was forgiving with it, but
yeah,
it
reminded me a lot of the old man Sam Jackson fight in Captain Marvel, where it's just cut after cut because he can't do anything. Can't even.
Or like the Irishman.
Yeah.
Keanu is very stiff in this. Keanu looks old. Like, he doesn't look that old in his face and body, but he moves very stiff. He's very stiff on camera. I would say that his performance is one of the weaker parts of the movie. There are moments when this is like, oh, this feels like Neo, just a little bit older. Carrie-Anne Moss is great.
She's good in this.
Honestly, a lot of the new people are good. Yahya Abdul-Mateen, he's great in everything. He's not. This ain't the first time we talked about him. I was a little weird about New Morpheus, and once they explained the concept, I'm like, this is genius, and he is really great. And it was like, there was a scene where he's like, yeah, I'm not the real Morpheus. I'm the fun Morpheus. And he like said a joke and laughed and was like, wow, he's like more animated than our, stoic, monotone Morpheus. Like he's based on the original guy, but he's not the same person. So that's why he doesn't, he's not played by Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the physical. I like a lot of the sci-fi ideas, like the physical holograms, and the operators can make themselves holograms in the Matrix, and like skins and bots. And Jessica Henwick, who plays Bugs, is also one of my favorite people in the whole movie. I love her. She plays Colleen Wing in the Netflix Marvel shows, Iron Fist and all that. So that's what I know her from. I know she's in way more than that, but I really love Bugs. Bugs is a super badass character, and I feel like they were like hinting some weird things about her lore wise. Like her brain pattern is the closest one to Neo's, and all the weird kind of shit.
I thought it was the closest one to Trinity's.
Maybe that's what it was. I was honestly the second half did not understand a lot of things, and that's where that's where my problems are. Is the second half feels like a fucking mess. I feel like the first half was messy but worked and was fun, and like but the second half was a mess, and I like things about it, like the action chase and things, but ultimately was not nearly as good.
Yeah, I think this movie only gets worse as it goes on. Like I was into the game thing. I when I said it was like jarred by it, I just mean like why not just make it movies instead of games? But like the overall concept, loved in the first part of it, and I got into okay, this isn't at all what I thought it was gonna be. Like the concept is what I thought it was gonna be, but the
aesthetic and only aesthetic is completely different. It's just a different aesthetic.
Like I figured this based on the trailer, this wouldn't feel like the old Matrix movies, but it's just when you get into the second half, it's just what they do with where they're going with it. I just feels like it's just not done well. I feel like Carrie-Anne Moss, who's such a phenomenal actor and does so much, is doing all the work with the lines of dialogue.
I thought her performance is really good.
Yeah, like she's good, but some of the stuff, especially the final shot of the movie where her and Keanu show up at the end with Neil Patrick Harris, it just
my god, that was horrible. That was a horrible scene.
Just felt cheesy.
It was really bad.
I feel like there's a lot of stuff like that for both of her and Keanu in the second half. The second half of the movie, and that just I think that's why I have such a bad taste.
It's honestly the last hour. I don't even think it's the second half. I think it's like
I guess it is 2.5 hours. Yeah,
I think it's like the last hour. There's a lot happening. They dump a fuckload of information on you. Then you realize in the end that the stakes were just getting Trinity out. They were not saving anything. They weren't saving the city. They weren't saving the people, any people. They weren't saving the people in that Matrix. They just were getting Trinity out. That's what the movie was about. Their relationship and their love for each other. And I knew that because I heard about that beforehand, but I didn't understand, like, it just like felt like, was that enough to tell this grand tale? Like, I mean, it was about, it feels like it's setting up future movies, but I don't think it's good enough to make any more movies.
No, I hope they do not make any more movies.
It's definitely setting something up. It set something up.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think it will get a sequel. Just because
I don't think because how bad it's doing. Yeah,
but I would have been okay with it just being a Trinity rescue movie. I'm fine with that. And then but then at that last scene where it's just like, I can just control the Matrix outright now, and I'm gonna change it to however I see fit. Like Trinity and Neo are saying Neil Patrick Harris at the end, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is?
Well, now there's two Neos. Like they both have Neo powers,
and they have the power of the architect now, but apparently too, is what they're essentially saying. And at that point, then it's just no stakes, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want any more of this because it doesn't, like, unless it's all the stakes are only in the real world. And if they're
but they said they can't bring it down. That was the other thing. It was a stalemate in the end. Like, yeah, you woke Trinity's god powers, but But Neil Patrick Harris is still in control of that matrix to a degree, and those people are still going to be in those pods, and those people are still going to be living in that matrix. So
Yeah.
all Trinity and Neo was like, well, maybe we'll make it a little better. Maybe we'll make some rainbows.
Yeah. It's
Like, we'll
so
change a few
bad.
things is the quote, I think. Well, we're going to change a few things. And like that can mean anything, and they can make it a pleasurable experience for them.
Oh, I mean, I took it as they were just gonna have it set up in the Matrix to have a choice to be woken up or not, like right on the forefront or something. Like,
This is the thing. Apparently in the lore that has already happened. And the Matrix, that's what's part of the Matrix Online, I guess, and that's what I didn't understand this movie fully lore wise, so I don't know if I'm getting the new one properly. But in that game, there is a sect of people that get woken up, and then they're like Cypher. They want to go back, and that the people of like a lot of the people in that Matrix. Or that when the war ended, a ton of people were woken up that wanted to get woken up. Like at the end of the original war, and
yeah,
but then there were people that chose to stay, in the Matrix, and then there were people that got woken up and went back, and so I don't know if it's implying that the people in that Matrix want to be in that Matrix, or if they aren't aware. I guess obviously we know that Trinity wasn't aware and Neo wasn't aware, but they were like this. They seem to insinuate that they're literally this special case that they were put in here and have to be kept away from each other, because if they find out who they are and they get together, that they'll fuck everything up.
I feel like there was a few lines of dialogue from NPH that was saying like they don't even know what they want. I know what they want, and I give it to them. Blah blah blah, and it just made it seem like it's like forced choice, which the whole movie seems about forced choice.
Well, if they have to
Is
want
that
to
really a
be, I
choice?
think it's that they
Like,
have to want to be there. If they don't want to be there, then they'll wake up. They can wake up. So whether so yeah, I don't know if that's just they're talking about the process of
'cause a big theme of the
red
whole movie
pilling.
was forced choice. Was that's because Yaya says a bunch of times like, well, that's not really a choice, is it? Like I think like 3 times he says it. And so that's what one of Neil Patrick Harris's speeches towards the end of the movie saying it made it seem like he's forced the choice of people wanting to stay in because he's knows exactly how to manipulate the mind of the average person to make them want to be in the Matrix and want to not wake up. That's how I took it, at least. I don't know if that's how that would
Yeah, I gotta
would make
honestly
sense.
look more into it, because I don't know if I fully understood it. I don't understand what was going on with how they were waking up Trinity. Like with Sati, and like Sati comes back from she was a little girl in the Matrix Revolutions, and yeah, I don't know what the fuck she was doing. I don't know what Bugs was doing. What you like you said, or like we were talking about with her brain was the closest to. I
Yeah,
thought it was
they plugged.
Trinity, and then but Riz thought they were talking about Neo, and
No, so they plugged Bugs directly into Trinity for a little bit to get her from the pod to the ship. Uh, and I don't know how or why or whatever, but they did it that way. And then they got her on the ship, and they were able to separate the two. And then Bugs just went in on her own. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It was real muddy with that. And
that was my biggest problem.
one of my biggest problems with the action of the movie is another thing that they did to create no stakes was apparently you don't need the key maker anymore to make portals to go anywhere in the Matrix. That the operators can just do that now, and so there's always a way to get away as long as you don't even need to have a door. They were doing it with like jumping out windows and stuff too, and any mirror.
There were some jump cuts at times too where I wasn't sure how they were like getting out. They would just like be there, and all of a sudden it would cut to them pulling the thing out of Neo's head, and he's out of the Matrix. And I didn't
Yeah,
understand. I didn't understand the rules of getting out. I know she explained it with the doors, but yeah, I didn't understand.
because
Before
like
we
in the
go
beginning of the
ahead.
movie, her and Yaya jump off the building into the ground, and they splash through it and end up I guess outside of the Matrix. So it was like, I guess it's like how the kid tried to kill himself to get out of the Matrix. They can do that now. Um, it's weird. I don't know. Not explained
Uh,
well. Not weird.
so all right. So how did you feel about the Agent Smith, played by Jonathan Groff, who I love from Mindhunter?
Love him
Uh,
in Mindhunter.
I thought he was good in this, but he's just a weird character, so it was like hard to. I didn't understand why he even needed to be in this movie.
Yeah, I would have loved it so much more if it was Hugo Weaving in like doing the same part. I think I would have enjoyed up until the point where he just shows up to just kind of save the day and then leave, and then has no other purpose.
I get why
That's
they didn't, because he's old, and he probably didn't want to do it again. But
apparently he was open. He was down to be
oh,
in another one if one of the Wachowskis was attached.
um, like I said, I liked it. I just didn't. It was weird how they used him. He was like this rogue. It felt like an anime with that anti-hero character, like you're
Yeah.
before they join the good guys, but they're not a bad. There used to be a bad guy, and they haven't joined the good guys yet, but they're kind of like this chaotic force. I don't know. I don't know how I felt about it.
It just felt like he was in the movie just to show up at the end to help Trinity and Neo, so he could kill the architect. That just felt like that was his only purpose in the movie. Which is a shame because I love that actor, and I think it's an interesting thing. I wish that they would have had him do kind of like a Hugo Weaving style of talking like Bane did to kind of seal more rather than change his. I feel like it wouldn't change his
Well,
whole personality.
I don't know. I think that you can't keep doing that stupid voice. The stupid voice is iconic, but
Hmm.
I like that it's like Doctor Who. You can be the
Yeah.
same character and have a different personality. And I think they're playing with something like that. And I wanted to talk about this with Revolutions because I think it started this, and I think this movie takes it forward. This movie is the whole series. People talk about the themes with trans and just like self-identity and self-image and those kinds of things.
Mm.
But there's a ton about transhumanism and like the like we said, the point between organic being and machine. And I think that there's a lot playing with that in terms of Smith, and he's this independent force, and he was awakened again thanks to Neo, and he owed him that. And I thought about like Io. We didn't talk about Io at all, but there's Zion is gone. Zion is gone, and Io is a machine built by the survivors and machines that have defected, or not even defected, but apparently there was a civil war between the machines, and humans even, and the some good machines, quote unquote. They helped build this city, so I think that's pretty cool. I like that. I really like that, and getting to see the city and learn about the machines. But man, Jada Pinkett was just I don't know if it's her. I don't know if it was the dialogue. I don't know if it's that weird makeup, like the makeup not being convincing enough. But man, every scene was awkward with old Captain Niobe.
Yeah. It's it's not great with it. But I wanted to say earlier, I lost it. We'll just talk about Captain Niobe. This apparently takes 5 hours to do that makeup, and I thought the makeup looked terrible. And with like having her give these kind of, I don't know if it's because of the makeup. It's restrictive to be able to like
your face is very
talk
stiff.
or whatever. But yeah, there's like no emotion in anything. It's just dead faced, which makes me not care. And then also she was like, "I never believed in you, Neo," and it's like, you literally gave him your ship.
Yeah.
Because you believe. And then it's almost like she's at one point in the movie, she's like talking about it, and then it's like she convinces herself, I was like, yeah, and then you did all this, and then things were good. Yeah, I guess I did believe. And it's like, why? What is the point of this?
Yeah, I didn't like that they kind of undo a little bit of of what Neo did, but then knowing that in the Matrix Online that it was already unraveling by that point, like right after there was still conflict, it was just there was peace with the machine. The big machines kind of broke out into factions, and that's
Yeah.
what kind of seems like is still happening to this day. Or like some of those factions came together and it's like new sides. Um,
Mm.
before I forget about it, I want to talk about that there's like the one of the main fight scenes which fucking looks like it is out of a martial arts film where they just set up a set of random junk and then have them all fight around it. I'm thinking about Netflix Daredevil. I'm thinking about, you know what I'm talking about? They just like warehouse with a bunch of
Yeah, yeah,
shit on
yeah.
the floor and like boards and barrels and stuff and have a big ass
Yeah.
fight scene. Well, that is honestly the longer fight scene and probably I didn't hate it for what it was. It's just too long and it was like I'm getting at like falling out of this. The action sequence at the end didn't bother me, even though it was like not always the best. But this is too long and they're just like hard to follow. There's so many different people fighting. Characters just disappear for a while. Morpheus disappears at one point in
Yep.
that scene, and just shows up at the end. It felt like Mortal Kombat Annihilation or some shit. Not nearly as bad, but something like that. But I wanted to talk about the motherfucking Merovingian. I
Yeah,
would have never in a million years thought that they would bring them back. They said exiles. Oh, they're
mm,
exiles. And I was like, oh, well, I know the exiles work with the Merovingian. And I thought it to
yeah.
myself. And I just, no. Like, it's just exiles. And they're fighting them for a fight scene of random, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. And and then the Merovingian shows up and he's homeless looking and he's just shouting. Like, I'm pretty sure that they just had him for like an hour and just probably said, like, they had fed him a bunch of lines and then just said, say whatever the fuck you want. Like, say some lines and we're going to cut it up and we're going to intersperse it throughout this fight scene. Because he doesn't interact with anyone, right?
Nope.
He's,
He just
he,
sits. Neo says something to him, and then the fight scene happens, and he just sits in the corner. And this is what makes me not take
he like
him
snivels.
seriously.
Like, he's like Gollum.
Yeah, like they'll go to him talking, and he's just spouting some like shit about how sequels are terrible and all this meta shit, and then it goes to his point of view, and you just see like old people fight like doing choreography, and it just doesn't look real or good, and it just looks silly. It made me feel with his over caricature of himself for this movie on top of it, the whole scene just felt silly.
It's kind of Joel Schumacher Batman. I was
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
about that. The Joel Schumacher Batman with the Merovingian scene in Revolutions, and I kind of feel that way about this. It's very campy. It's incredibly campy, but this is incredible. It's like meta, like with all the shit he's saying about Zucker fucks, and he's like talking about the real world. He's talking about the real world.
yeah.
The sequels suck, and I don't want to make like Lana definitely didn't want to make this movie, and just like, okay, give me your pile of money. I'm gonna make something weird, and that's what we got.
Yeah, man, that's like I get what she's doing and going for it, but it's just like not. I have a hard time saying like I like the film.
I like it. I think it's interesting, and I think it's as a film is arguably bad. I think, but as a piece of art and a piece of media, a piece of entertainment, I am very interested and entertained by it, and I am glad that it exists. I think it's weird as hell, and I am glad that it is in this world, and I think, and I wanted this. I got to start wrapping it up, but I think that this is like builds on a lot of meta sequel commentary. Riss brought up the new Space Jam. You didn't see that, right?
No.
It's all meta shit about Warner Brothers and like this algorithm that Warner Brothers developed that is trying to I don't know, kidnap LeBron, and it's using all the villainous properties, and like trying to take over, and it's very meta as well. It's bad. That movie's fucking bad. But it's really interesting that Warner Brothers put out a couple movies in the same year that have to do that are literally about Warner Brothers as a company. Um,
Yeah. It's, but now, do you think that this will in like okay, so it's been 20 years, 21 years since the first Matrix. Do you think in 20 years Resurrection will hold up, or do you think
I
it
think
works
people will come
now
back to it as
because of
batshit crazy and weird.
because
I
I what I'm
honest,
thinking about it, it's like all the
I
commentary on just how society is now, but if society isn't like that in 30, 40 years, does it make sense? Will it still hold up?
I don't know. I well, it's not like the Matrix in its broad strokes is timeless, the original series, but in finer strokes, it definitely has elements of its time. And I think that is a case here. It's the meta stuff about creating, and I think that's what's interesting about it is how self-aware it is and how silly it is and how it's literally fucking with what your concept of the Matrix franchise is. I don't know. It doesn't always work. It's kind of a mess. But I'm very interested and fascinated by it. It's a fascinating mess to me. And I think people will come back to this movie and watch it because of that. Not because they think it's great like the other one, like the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
one or even the sequels, but I think they will come back to it as interesting piece of art that exists, commercial piece of art that exists.
Yeah,
Um,
$150 million piece of art.
weird, weird piece of
Yeah.
art. Um, there was something I was gonna say. Oh, with like you've never seen the original Twin Peaks, but in Twin Peaks Revival, the Twin Peaks revival, I forget when it was done, 2017, 2016, something like that. It is batshit weird, and it feels nothing like the original show, and it fucks with your expectations the entire time of what you think's gonna happen, and you want certain characters to come back, and it just dangles them throughout the entire show, and you go along watching this whole show waiting for the shoe to drop, and you don't know when it's ever gonna drop, and it's a excruciating thing. And then by the time it's all over, I'm like, wow, I think I like that, even though I hated it at points. I think The Last Jedi is another example of a meta movie, a bit, not as much as these, but I think with what it does with what people expect and what people want from Star Wars, and then I think it's
Mm.
what people reacted. Some people reacted so poorly to it. I have problems with The Last Jedi as well, but they weren't in the realm of you've fucked with Star Wars, you've changed it in a bad way or something. Um, I don't know. I like that. This is in that thing, in that they're trying to do similar things
Yeah.
to varying degrees of success, and just in varying degrees, period. So that's why I don't know. That's why I like this, and I'm gonna give it a score.
It will get numbers.
I am going to give it.
I gotta hear yours first because you're gonna hate mine.
I'm giving it a 3.
Oh, okay. That's not all right. That's expected based on how we talked about this. That's
Yes, I
all right.
think I liked it better than Reloaded. I think Reloaded is
Oh,
I think Reloaded is a better, probably better movie.
interesting.
But I think I think Resurrections is way less boring, and it's fascinating to me. We'll see how I feel, like years from now. But
Yeah.
I think I like it better than Reloaded. It's not my worst
Wow.
Matrix film.
I think this is the worst of the Matrix films. I like Reloaded definitely more than this, but I want to like it. That's the thing, because I get all the things that it's going for, and now that the dust is settled of like it not being a Matrix movie, essentially, it just is just a jab at a studio. But it's like would I don't know. I feel like it could have been done while still feeling like not necessarily feeling like a Matrix movie, but feeling like something that, while subverting expectations, still could fit in this world. And this just feels so different in every way. And and I don't think it's done well enough to be so different. So I'm gonna give it 2.5.
All right, that's not that bad. I was expecting you to do something wild, like a 1.5.
No, it's but this 2.5 is held up entirely on just like what she's going for. Um,
I think there are genius ideas here. I think like that's. I think it's interesting our disagreement on the production. We didn't really talk about it a lot, but how I thought that it was the production was weird. I don't know
it
how
just
if
went
I.
for like a hyper clean, like at least from a cinematography standpoint, it was a hyper clean, soft light style that is just like the
It felt like a TV
epitome of
show.
ha- oh, I was gonna say this looked like the epitome of like what like Hollywood blockbuster lighting has become, which is just
It
soft
feels
light
modern. It
everywhere.
definitely is modern.
As sharp as possible and clean, and just like it didn't feel grungy or dirty like the other movies or other like sci-fi movies in the style. um but I guess that's the point of this also, is just like this is the modern age, this is how things are, commercial and clean.
Yeah, and
And
when it's very much like it's like making fun of Hollywood with the whole way that these people are acting, and like the going to the Starbucks and what have you. Um,
uh,
and like those
Kylie watched the first
executives.
Kylie watched the first half of this movie with me, and she started laughing real hard, and she goes, I think this is one of those movies where I don't know if Keanu Reeves is a good actor or not, or if he's just a good action star. And
Yeah. This is one of
yeah,
those movies.
this is 100%.
Yeah, I don't think he was making it better. Between how stiff he looks and how like some of his lines are work, but some of them just the deliveries didn't for me. Oh, real quick, last thing. I was not a fan of Neil Patrick Harris. I feel like he
Oh,
is.
hated him.
I think I don't honestly don't know if it's his performance or it's just because he's such an iconic guy that like it's hard to see anything past Neil Patrick Harris. You
Yeah,
know.
it just felt like another caricature character. Like everything, it's so hard to take anything in this movie seriously.
Well, that's the point because in that Matrix, everything is over the top. It is way like once you understand that this Matrix is different from the other one, and this one is over the top, and it's it's shallow and it's saccharine, and I don't know, but like that is part of this Matrix, and it looks different and it feels different and it has its own personality, but I don't know. There was something about them that just didn't work for me. And like I got what they were trying to do, and there was a silliness to everything, to this world, and that
Hmm.
wasn't in the previous ones. Like there's funny moments in previous ones, but everything's so serious and gritty. Whereas this is
Hmm.
more colorful, it's brighter, and it's sillier, and it's fun at times. It doesn't take
Even
itself
this,
seriously at all. Whereas the other ones are
yeah.
so fucking serious. It's like the most serious movies. And that's the part of the aesthetic. I don't know.
Mm.
I'm really interested in this, what they're doing, what she's doing.
I mean, the original movies, you feel the seriousness of like, because humanity is at stake. This movie, I don't feel like anything is at stake,
That's
really.
a
Like it
problem.
doesn't seem
That
like
is ultimately one of the biggest issues for me.
it feels
In
like
the
them
grand sense.
stealing Trinity from the machines is like, it feels like kids sneaking in and grabbing a cookie when they're not allowed. Like it doesn't feel like what they're gonna do has any real consequence, because it doesn't seem like they're gonna be able to, stop the human farms or anything. And it doesn't seem like the machines give a shit enough, because they came back to the architect and the architect didn't give a shit. Like when didn't really at the end.
The
Um
architect's gone. The original
like
architect.
no,
Did
no,
you
I'm talking about Neil Patrick Harris, the
Oh,
analyst.
the
All right, sorry.
analyst. Yeah.
He's the architect of this movie.
Yes,
Um
yes.
but yeah, so he was like, "Yeah, you got Trinity out, cool." So what, I don't give a shit at the end, after making it seem like it was such a big deal. And yeah, it just is, the humans feel like kids and the machines are the adults. And it just, I don't know, it's a Rugrats episode, I guess. But
I guess. Um But all right, I'm ready to wrap it up. This was I'm glad. I'm ready to I do want to watch more Wachowski movies. I want to see Jupiter Ascending.
I want to see Cloud Atlas.
I know, and that one. I haven't seen either of those. And
Tom
I hear
Hanks.
Jupiter Ascending is batshit crazy. And I'm for it.
That's the one with Channing Tatum with elf ears.
Yes, that's the one.
Nice.
But all right. Well, thank y'all for watching Best Boys or listening. This was our 30th episode. Make sure that you like and subscribe and follow and do all the good things you're supposed to do. We will be doing next week. We'll be finally doing Licorice Pizza, and There Will Be Blood. And we've been excited about doing some Paul Thomas Anderson. And yeah, thanks. Anything you want to plug? Oh yeah, Rough Pants is out.
Oh yeah.
Rough Pants is out on Kory with a Story, his YouTube channel, and it is excellent and it's doing numbers. And so make sure you check that out. And Smooth Pants, the original.
Please do. Anything helps.
we're very proud of old Core, and yeah.
Yeah, I think if you like anything that A24 has made in the last decade, you're gonna love it.
It's true. It's no lies detected. But all right, we're gonna get going here. We will see y'all next week. Make sure you keep watching.
'Cause we're the best boys.